Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You see that lightning bolt. You see that electricity. And that's what we got to bring in today for our guest we have. And we welcome in a man who has a nose for the football, a family man. Now, this tackling machine had 549 tackles, 8.5 sacks, and 10 interceptions across his 6 NFL seasons, earning All-Pro and a 3-time Pro Bowler. Off the field, he's an entrepreneur, co-founding Zone In CBD and 1937 Farms. I mean, maybe he could have been an actor, as he has a perfect imitation of A Christmas Story and ties with Nathan Kress. That's Freddie from iCarly, for those that don't know. Now, I don't want you to think he's lazy or loafs around, because he is the Polynesian Lion. We welcome in Lofa Tatupu. What is going on, my man?
Fellas, well, quite the introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on. First and foremost, how are you and your family doing? How's the off season treating you? I know that you do a little bit of podcasting in season for the Seahawks.
Yeah, hey, family's good, business is good, and I recently, it's been about 2 years now, got my own podcast, Believe in Seahawks, on the Believe Podcast Network, and it's picking up steam, and it's there's no off season, I guess, when with free agency and everything that's going on, the draft coming up. So we've been busy, especially, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the moves that we've made. Russell Wilson, in Denver, and then Bobby Wagner. I just heard he was down visiting with the Rams. So that's not too awesome. Not for us anyways.
It is actually crazy, the NFL offseason we've had. I heard a record 8 Pro Bowlers were traded, which just kind of signifies that there's been a lot of movement. The NFL landscape is going to definitely look different.
Yeah, I saw a meme the other day. It was like 29 or 30 quarterbacks have been drafted since 2006, and not one of them is with their original team.
Oh my gosh, that is actually a crazy stat. But I don't want to talk about NFL free agency. I want to go back in the time machine. And Lofa, I want to start with the early years. So you're born in San Diego. You eventually moved to Massachusetts, where you play your high school ball at King Philip Regional. And you played on both sides of the ball, quarterback and linebacker. And as a quarterback, you threw for 800 yards and 10 touchdowns, and you added 450 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. I got to put in the rushing stats because we are a fantasy show. Oh. Now, as a linebacker, you made 100 tackles. You're named local high school all-star by the Sun Chronicle in 99 and 2000. And if that's not cool enough, your father, who played in the NFL, coached the team. I mean, you might have the best high school experience out of any athlete we've talked to.
Yeah, it was fun looking back, but and I got to play for Cal's dad here in hoops, and I don't know if you know that, but playing for my own dad was it was different experience. You're a high school kid, you think you know everything, and I'm over here trying to correct my dad, about football when he played in the NFL for 14 years. So you can imagine how that went over.
I mean, you won, right? You told him who knows more.
Right. There was one time I was supposed to throw it to a certain receiver, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I lost confidence. The guy had dropped the ball or two, and I was like, you know what? I saw a lane. I'm just going to run the ball, and I ran. I got a touchdown. My coach comes over to me, not my dad, but my coach, and he's like, "Hey, the offense coach." He's like, "Why didn't you just throw the ball?" And I was like, what difference does it make? We scored, and that was the last time I ever talked back to a coach, because when we got into the locker room, they're like, "Hey, your dad wants to see you." So as I get into the locker room, I'm in my pads. He has me off my feet, in the air against the wall. And he said, "Don't ever disrespect the coach like that again." And so as soon as they grabbed him and pulled him off me, I dropped, right? I got in my car, full pads, I left my helmet there, got in my car, and I went to a friend's house, and I stayed there for 2 weeks because I did not want to go home. So it was trying times, but it was fun. Looking back, of course, my dad, he's not here. He's not with us any longer. But all the times that, we agreed or disagreed, it was so much fun having him as my coach, and I learned so much, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I mean, go ahead, Calvin.
Yeah, Lofa, I was just going to add in, obviously, you brought up, my dad was a basketball coach for 30-something years, and growing up before high school, he was my coach. And like you said, it definitely wasn't always the greatest time, whereas I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like, Dad, come on now. You don't have to tell me. So, but it was so awesome for him to mentor me, not as just a father, but as a sports coach as well. And what I just wanted to add in was how important was having your father as your high school coach, and how did it channel your success into college and also into the NFL?
I think having, that bond of something, just, a passion. We were both very passionate about
Mhm.
football. And I think that was always something that, brought us closer together, as a father and son, and really in our relationship, just, um, we were always talking football. It was, and like he never got tired of it, luckily, because, I can't imagine how, annoying I was as a kid, just continually asking him about his teammates and coaches. And, so I think he wasn't very surprised when I followed in his footsteps. And yeah, man, I cherished it. And all the moments we had, it was incredible.
That's
That's
awesome.
that's awesome. And I mean, hey, we're going to follow the footsteps of your career. And so we're going to go to the collegiate part. So you play University of Maine before transferring to USC, who's a powerhouse at the time. And I want to add that you majored in sociology as well. So that once again, you're living the full college experience. And I mean, USC at that time, they're known as USC Linebacker U, as many stars in the NFL came from that system, notably Ray Maluga. And during your 2 years there, I mean, you made your impact felt literally. Once again, 202 tackles, 9 sacks, 7 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries, 3 forced fumbles, 18 pass deflections, and 1 tutty. And yes, I said tutty. And rightfully so, you received All-American honors from Sports Illustrated following the 2004 season. So, I mean, I can't imagine a time where your draft stock's going to be higher. And you declared for the 2005 NFL draft. You selected 45th by the Seahawks. You traded up 9 spots to get you. So that's how you know you're wanted. The move drew some scrutiny, but your performance at the end of the day ultimately shut those critics up. Let's be real.
I mean, even when I went to Maine, people had written me off. They were like, "Oh, well, he was a good high school player." I remember hearing that, and so had to earn it every step of the way. And then when I transferred from Maine, I remember hearing, "Yeah, he's never going to play. He's never going to play at USC." And in my mind, the picture couldn't have been clearer about my future and how I wanted to play in the NFL. But I knew this was the step I needed to take. And so when I transferred, I just kept working my ass off. And when I finally got the opportunity, I made the most of it. And then yet again, as you said, there was a lot of naysayers when I was leaving a year early, undersized, slow, but my draft stock was not going to get any higher. Even if I came back and we beat Texas in that national championship, that famed national championship game, I wouldn't have won the first round. So I just I went with my heart, as I did in every other move, and I just believed in myself and what I was, how much work I was going to put in to get to the next level, and I felt it was time to move on, and it turned out to be the right choice.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, it's so easy for people to write somebody off, say they're not going to make it, they're not big enough, strong enough, whatever it is. But they don't see the work that's put in from a day to day. So, how did that kind of just motivate you, just kind of daily, that just to prove everybody wrong, I would say?
Yeah, man, it's at the time, I really feel like it was just proving everybody wrong, but it's incredibly hard to block that noise out, as a kid, when you hear it everywhere you look, or even you're reading in the paper and stuff. It's tough to not have doubts, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't when I went to Maine. But I think where the confidence came in was when I did finally get my chance. Like I said, I worked my ass off, and I was second or third on the depth chart, both at Maine and at USC when I got there. But when I got my chance, I showed what I was capable of, and how much I loved the game, and my teammates and what we were doing. And so, hard work, you can't hide it, man. It's going to show up sooner or later. And when you finally get the chance, show up and show out. And so that's what I did, man.
I love one of my favorite expressions is hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Working hard,
And
yeah.
I mean, that literally sounds like how kind of you trained. And I mean, look, you get your opportunity with the Seahawks and you perform right out of the gate. So first year, you have 104 tackles. You're named a Pro Bowler. You helped take the Seahawks to their first Super Bowl appearance in franchise history. So right away, you're an impact player. You're shutting those critics up. The next 2 years are very similar, and that's definitely a good thing. You lead the Seahawks in tackles, make the Pro Bowl. I mean, heck, you're even named to an All-Pro in 2007. And I also want to point out that we should update to your Wikipedia page to say owner of A.J. Feely after you intercepted him 3 times in that December of 2007 game.
Oh, man. Poor AJ. Hey, man. My bad, man. I got lucky that game, man. I got lucky.
So I want to ask you a question because I don't think it's luck. And I think one of the most cliche expressions is he has an eye or he has a nose for the ball. But I literally can't think of a better example than you. You're always around the ball, whether it's making tackles, it's intercepting passes, pass deflections, forced fumbles. Not all of these are gimmies. A lot of these are hand-eye coordination involved. And I watched highlights. These weren't just ducks to you. You read it really well. Was that something that came naturally to you? Were there any specific drills or routines that really helped you prepare for these game scenarios?
Yeah, it's studying tape and tendencies and breaking down hours and hours and hours of film. And after you perfect your craft is turning your attention to your opponent and knowing your opponent and, their moves better than they do, because we're creatures of habit. And, whatever move is our go-to move, we're gonna hold on to that for the most part, or utilize our specialties. And when you're done sharpening your game, like I said, you turn your attention to the opposing team, and then you keep graduating. I remember in high school, I barely watched film, so that was pure instinct. When most high school kids now these days they got film, but we were just going off of like, okay, see ball, get ball, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get to college, and you're in the film room, and the coaches are teaching you how to break down film, how to look at offenses, what opposing offenses are trying to do to beat your defense. And it becomes going from checkers to chess, man. It really is that analogy, is that like you can play on a whole different level and a whole nother speed if you know what's coming. And so that's what it really becomes mathematical, is how I always look at the game, whether it was the formation. And I mean, we used to call it 2x2, 3x1, just the sets. And I would recognize patterns. And I really believe that's how I was able to, all the interceptions and all the tackles for losses, all the big plays, they were made before I even physically made them. I had already pictured them in my head.
So I read that your approach, your studious habits, really a lot of people gravitated towards you, even veterans. Do you think you kind of helped change the Seahawks culture? Because I don't think it's a coincidence the year you get drafted is the first year they make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got over the hump because they were always knocking on the door. And, I would say my draft class, because, Leroy Hill was also in there, 2 starters, 2 guys that they had said, were not good enough to be drafted in the second, third round, found themselves on the starting defense in the Super Bowl, which is pretty incredible, rookies. But, I would say they had a great offense. And then with inserting myself and Leroy, and then there was some free agent acquisitions, Marquand Manuel. There was a lot of, guys that really contributed, because we led the league in sacks and not one person had double-digit sacks. If that isn't the most complete group effort, then I don't know what it is. We had several guys with 7, 8 sacks, a couple with 5. It's so we all pitched in, and I mean, with that's true team ball right there. And we lived on the big play. We got a lot of turnovers. We shut people down in the red zone. It was one of the most fun years I had playing football. And I don't know if I changed the culture, but I like to think that me and Leroy brought a little bit of nastiness to it.
A little bit of an edge. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, that's what I like to.
This is where you go and you flex the muscles and tattoos that you have. I mean, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
And your quarterback, Matt Hasselbeck, another Massachusetts native. In addition to that, your father and his father, Don, played on the Patriots together. How was it with his leadership as a quarterback, and what kind of teammate was he?
Oh, Matt's a stud. Everybody loved playing for Matt. because at quarterback, you want to have a guy that's tough and that, that he's got your back. And he always did, man. There's so many times, especially in 2006, when we were trying to repeat to get back to the championship and Super Bowl, that, the target's on your back and, whether the opposing team scored on us or whatever. I remember there was at least 3 or 4 games that Matt led game-winning drives that year, and it was clear that he was saving us in a lot of those situations. But he has one of the best. I don't think he gets enough credit at the timing and precision of throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
There were very few. He threw guys open all the time, and that's a phrase where you hear the guy's covered, blanket coverage, man. The guy's all over him. But he threw it to an area where the guy can get open, and just his receiver had a chance at it. But there were some timing routes where, when we're watching it, we're like, oh, he's not going to throw that, is he? Like, don't throw that. But he threw it, and I'm talking while getting hit, and as the receiver comes out of his break, it's right there, just over the shoulder, in the chest, between the numbers. It was just some of the most, poetry in motion, man. Some of the most beautiful football I ever get to watch.
Yeah, and I feel bad because this is before the age of social media. So he's not getting, if he makes those throws, it's not getting, a highlight on SportsCenter. People aren't talking about it on social media the way they do now. But look, I want to go back to your time with Seattle. So after the 2008 season, you secured the bag, rightfully so. They paid you a 6-year extension through 2015, which at the time made you one of the highest 6-paid linebackers in the league. So, you got to get that money. And unfortunately, during the 2009 season, you tore your left pectoral and you're out for the season, the first major injury that made you miss games. And you bounced back the next season in 2010. You played with 88 tackles, a sack, an interception, and a touchdown, playing all 16 games. However, after the season, the Seahawks released you after both parties could not come to an agreement on a restructured contract. Now, I think we all joke about a non-existent salary cap. We see players restructure deals even after 1 year into a multi-year signing. I'm curious to hear the process of when a team approaches you about restructuring. Is it basically an ultimatum, or is there negotiating similar to when you sign a contract?
I think every situation is different,
Mm-hmm.
I know I can only speak from my perspective and what happened, with my case. The guaranteed money's up, and when guaranteed's up, there's nothing guaranteed. Literally, that's what they say. You're only guaranteed to get what your guarantee is written in. And so, and I understand that it's a business, and so I had a conversation, with John and Pete, and they were going in a different direction. It's kind of similar to what's going on now. Like, back in 2010, they moved on from Hasselbeck and myself, and just much similar to how they're doing it with Russ and Bobby. And so in my situation, it kind of felt like, I had the talks with them, kind of did my homework, and it felt like it was that the price reduction that they, I'm not going to get into specifics, but at the price reduction I wanted, I just didn't feel like that was a fair deal. And this is business. So there's no hard feelings, no emotions in business. And we agreed to move on. That's just what it is. And so, but yeah, I'm sure with a lot of players, it's there's a negotiation that happens, and I guess you could say that's what happened when I was talking to John and Pete, but it didn't work out, and so we mutually parted ways.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that it is a business. This is your livelihood. And what we're seeing with players now is, even with, like we had mentioned, so many stars getting traded, people are wanting to make as much money as they can for them, for their family, for years to come. And I don't blame you for saying, look, I value myself at a certain number. So, I mean, props to you, and your relationship with the Seahawks community is obviously still great as you're, doing the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, like, schematically, we were doing some things that really didn't best suit my skill set, and, it's just, if we were going to stay with that defense, that was not, conducive to a, productive another year for me. I mean, as you can see, dropped to 88 tackles. It was tough.
Make it seem like that's a low number. That's not.
I mean,
maybe by your standards, but in general.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. My standards, you ask
Yeah.
Cal and his dad, I was a horrible basketball player, but I was yelling at everybody like I was the best. Like,
Yeah.
I,
I don't think I heard it that way. Hey, you always need the football guys on the basketball team though, right?
absolutely. But, it's just, if you're going to do anything, you put everything into it. And that's, even like I was saying with basketball, I did that, even though I was not a basketball player.
Right.
So it's you really, I'm glad the guys are actually part of the conversation these days is really what I'd say in terms of having a say in their future, and what happens, because for so long in football in particular, it was, hey man, here today, gone tomorrow, or like, you're hot until you're not. Like, it's okay, what have you done for me lately, kind of a league. And so it's good to see some of these guys get an opportunity to put their or write their own story and legacy, so to speak. And it started with quarterbacks, but hopefully it's going to trickle down to all the other position players too. But yeah, and then it's a top-notch organization, and still, like you alluded to, still very close with them. They still invite me to a ton of charity events and everything, and get to do a lot of stuff in the community. So forever grateful for the relationship that I have with them, and it's just, it started with the late Paul Allen, who was our owner, and the trickle down effect was real. He changed so many lives, and he did so much good that it was important to the whole organization to do the same.
Yeah. And just staying on the topic of finances before we move on, I know there's a lot of young guys where they get drafted and they're just making so much money, especially from people that come from poor backgrounds. It's more money than they could ever imagine. So for you in that position, would you say you had people around you that had your best interests? And did it take time for you to know how to manage your money, or were you taught that yourself?
Yeah, no, it's a learning experience, because it's it really is. Once you go through it, you have to go through it to really learn. And so had the benefit of some great people around me, also people that I trust, older players that you lean on, like, hey, how did you do it? If you could do anything differently. So it's like I said, learning experience, and just grateful for all the people I've had around me in the time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I mean, Lofa, you weren't done with the game of football. I mean, you joined the Seahawks in 2015. You're the assistant linebacker coach for 2 years. But I'd be remiss. We didn't talk about some of the current ventures you have, including Zone In CBD. So I kind of want to give you the floor a little bit to talk about how you got into that and some of the services and products you offer.
Yeah. So we hit a little bit about the injuries that I went through in 2009, but I mean, man, if I could really break it down, it was from 2005 to 2010, or really 13, which is when I officially, I'd say, crawled away from the game, not walked away. I had 10 surgeries and, a little over 15 concussions. So probably about 3 or 4 per year over that span of time. And, I didn't realize the damage or the trauma, physically. Yeah. You kind of go in understanding there's going to be some sacrifice, especially I watched my dad go through it, and I watched his body break down too as he got older. But mentally and emotionally, and people are starting to realize how important that mental health is, because when I had my best body back in, 15 years ago when I was 25, I did not have my best mental health. And we're starting to see people really pay attention to it. And I think it's important, because that's what gets everything going and gets everything right, or keeps everything in balance. And so when I left the game, like I said, man, I wasn't working out anymore. I was kind of just going through the motions of life. Still grateful for everything that I've been able to do and been blessed with. But there was definitely, that drive missing from, the day-to-day grind. And lucky to get back into coaching, which brought me back out here, and I got into the cannabis industry. And so with that, 1937 Farms was born, and me and my business partner Matt McCoy, we own and operate that. He runs that one, and then as the industry kept going, as it kept going in the industry, I started hearing more and more about CBD, and so I just started doing my research, my due diligence, what it was. And I was just hearing so many miracle stories that it caught my attention. I was like, I took it for like aches and pains, right? And I didn't know it was going to rewire my whole brain into the most positive outlook and perspective, and even like, I mean, it's healed so much more than just my body, because when you get that mind right, you're unstoppable. And that's really, but even to fight the stigma of hemp, which, it's a cannabis plant, we, named it Zone In, which is off of, being in the zone, or
Right.
positive psychology, flow state. So that's how I feel. I feel like everything's effortless now. Even talking and podcasting, that used to be a task for me back in the day, and now it feels like it comes, pretty naturally. So grateful for what. Even 3 years before I started Zone In, I was just buying quality, full spectrum product oil and handing out to friends and family and watching them like turn into the best versions of themselves. And I think, that's really what we can hope for in life is, on top of all the good, we're here to do good, as much as we can, because we're not here very long. Like I said, my dad died at 54. If I'm lucky, I get 14 more years like he did. And,
We knock on wood. We knock
yeah,
on wood that it's
yeah.
longer, that it's longer.
I'll be grateful if I get another 14, and because, so many, the other perspective is like, oh, wow, he died so young. He died at 54, and that's, relatively young, but he lived, man. And I think there's not a lot of people that live, and that's the sad part.
And I think there is such an emphasis now, and we're seeing a lot of former players themselves, Calvin Johnson, Al Harrington, who played basketball, these athletes that have played this sport for years. And I think the normal person doesn't realize the toll that it takes on your body, your mental health, especially after you transition for the game and you're looking for those next ventures, that it's something that really does help. And I think like you said, the stigma hasn't always been positive around it, but I think we're kind of changing that gradually. And I'm glad that you're, kind of leading that movement a little bit.
Yeah, trying to do my part and spread the message. And I mean, this is the plan. I fully believe is going to save us all, man. As the society, with everything that's going on, all of the messed up things that are going on. This is stuff. I mean, we if we all heal ourselves individually, we're only going to put out better stuff, and that's really what it comes down to. Is man, I mean, it's made me so grateful and happy, not high. I mean, there's a time and place. I love THC. I do. I'm not ashamed to say it. But with CBD, it's put me in such a positive mental, mind frame that like anything's possible. It's brought me back to when I was young, and I was attacking the dream of being in the NFL. And I think I'm just grateful that this is something I'm passionate about, because it's helping people. And football, I was hurting probably a few too many people on top of myself. But I do. Every now and then I get somebody hit me up and say, hey, man, I have memories of me and my father watching you play football. And I was like, all right, well, at least I helped somebody.
Yeah.
but now I'm helping put people back together, much like it put me back together. It's special to me in that regard.
We're talking with Lofa Tatupu, the Seahawks linebacker, the motivational man, the entrepreneur. Lofa, we like to get our guests out of here with a little triple play rapid fire. Are you game?
Yes.
Okay. First, we do have to plug our new sponsor. And for those that are not aware, Triple Play Fantasy, we are an affiliate of Odds Jam. So I'm going to give you the quick lowdown.
Twins game tomorrow. The Twins, for example, are plus 180 on BetMGM. They're plus 215 on Fox Bet. Could you ever imagine placing a bet plus 180 odds on BetMGM if you knew you were getting plus 215 on Fox Bet? It's absurd. Now, if you think these discrepancies in odds, like the difference even between plus 200 and plus 215 is small, then there is a massive, massive flaw.
There you go. I mean, we see it right there. For those that are in the sports betting industry or like to gamble, go to oddsjam.com. You can use the referral code Triple Play. You get a nice little 7-day trial there. But enough corporate plug. Lofa, we're going to do some rapid fire. I hope you're ready. These are not all football questions, and you probably haven't been asked some of these before. You game?
All right, let's go, man. Shoot.
All right. The better jersey to wear, the Seahawks teal or the USC red?
Oh,
That's
Oh,
it.
Seahawks Steel. Yeah, I got to go rapid fire, right? Steel,
All right.
man.
I mean, you can think about it if you want.
Okay, all right.
All right. Would you rather record a sack and forced fumble or an interception?
There's something about the interception. I do love the hard hits on the sack and fumble, but there's something about the interception, and like even just as you catch it, you hear the crowd erupt.
Exactly.
I'm talking like just sends chills even to this day. So I'm gonna go with the interception. That was the play I was known for.
Okay, I like that.
Let me join in on the fun. I want to ask a couple questions as well, man.
Go ahead.
What do you got, Ken?
I got one for you, Lofa. Would you rather score a big contract with Zone and CBD or get your dream guest on your podcast?
Ooh, tough one. I'm gonna go big. Would you say big contract with Zone?
Yeah, you'll end a big contract. You get your dream guest.
Yeah. Go big contract, and then I'll go back for the guest the next time.
Do you know who the guest would be?
Oh man, dream guest. Let's see. I don't even have an answer for that one right now because it would have to be someone that the listeners would want to talk to. It's a Seahawks podcast, so I would get the Legion of Boom back together.
Okay. I like that.
All members of the Legion of Boom. I'm not just the DBs, but all the D-line, the greatest defense that ever played because they did it for 4 years. And this is, I catch a lot of shit when, like, oh, the Ravens, the Bucks, even the 85 Bears. The Seahawks did it for 4 straight years. Number one scoring defense. And
it was pretty
I
impressive.
don't know if that'll ever happen again, man.
That's true. And it's kind of a shorter shelf life. All right, Lofa, you can eat one bread type for the rest of your life. What type of loaf are you picking? I had to get a pun in there.
I figured you would go with that one. Sourdough for sure.
Okay.
That's a good one.
All right. Would you rather for the rest of your life only have hot drinks or cold food?
Cold food. Yeah, I don't mind cold food. I mean, I don't ever really heat anything up. If I get a steak and it's left over, I just eat it cold. I eat cold pizza. Yeah, but hot drinks, man, you don't want a hot drink. You don't want a hot drink.
It's coffee. That's it. Yeah. Lofa, my microwave actually broke today. So the irony of me asking you this question when I'm only going to eat cold food the next couple of days, I'm with you on that. Yeah, you're right. I don't have a choice. Would you rather always hit a red light for the rest of your life or always get slow internet after the sun goes down?
Oh, red light, man. I'm not in a rush to drive anywhere. I leave early, so I arrive on time.
All right, that's an easy one.
What's that Mike Tyson one you have?
All right. Would you rather fight Mike Tyson once or you have to talk like him the rest of your life?
If you fight Mike Tyson once, you might end up talking like him the rest of your life.
That's the answer.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk like him. I'm gonna talk like Mike.
You know what, Lofa? Out of all the athletes we've talked to, I would peg you as someone that could probably take him more than others.
Yeah, I mean, I could take a hit back in the day. I don't know if I could anymore. Luckily, me and him both love cannabis, so it would never come to that.
I was just going to say, that'd be a good guest for the podcast as well, right?
Right? Yeah.
All right, so cannabis question. Sativa or indica?
Sativa.
Yeah.
I need to go up. And that's what, if anybody's listening and they're curious about cannabis, so, indica can bring you down, mellow you out. So if you're up here, on the move, go, you need to calm down, you need to smoke indica or, try indica. And for me, I am so even keel, just chill. I need to go up. So a sativa only for me.
I love it. We got 2 more here. Would you rather ruin the surprise at a surprise party or show up and realize too late that it's a black tie event?
Oh no, a black tie event. I'll be underdressed. I don't care. I'll pull it off somehow. But you don't want to ruin the surprise.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't be that guy.
It's more of like, okay, I didn't realize versus, oh, I feel bad. So
yeah,
I'm with you on that.
You can't undo. Like if I show up not ready or underdressed, I can leave. But if I can't undo the surprise, right?
It's always going to stick with them too. They're going to be like, hey, we're never inviting Lofa to another party again.
Yeah. You remember Lofa? Nah. You remember the guy that ruined the surprise? Oh, that guy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
All right, so the last one here, and this is an important one. Do you pull your toilet paper from the top or the bottom?
Top.
Yeah, it's always the top.
What?
What? Because
It's the bottom.
You know how gravity works, man? The bottom can just run.
No, but think about it. What's easier to do, chin-ups or pull-ups?
You are an absolute psycho. That's
If there's one thing that you've taken away in the 30 minutes we've known each other, is that I'm a psycho. And I'm proud to say that then. Us bottom rollers, we got to stay together. But Lofa, really appreciate you coming on and taking
my wife puts
time
it on the bottom way, and I always turn it around.
Oh, my. Your wife's smart. Your wife's smart.
Yeah. Or a psycho. I don't know. I'm okay. You guys are smart. I'm the psycho.
You know what?
In case she's watching.
We're all smart people here. But Lofa, before we get you out of here, I want to give you the opportunity to plug anything that you're working on, where they can find Zone CBD, where they can find you on the socials, any good stuff you're working on.
Lofa Tatupu, Lofa_Tatupu. Usually, I'm mostly on Instagram. I do a little bit on Twitter, but that's usually one of my boys helps me out with that. 1937 Farms. If you are in Washington, it's in the legal recreational cannabis industry, and we're in most shops out here in the Seattle area. And then Zone and CBD, you can find out more at zoneandcbd.com. This is my new passion, and I'm forever grateful for it. And I want to thank you guys and Triple Play, your new sponsor. Congrats on that, man. That's huge.
Definitely appreciate it.
And Cal, tell Pops I love him, and I appreciate everything he did for me as a kid. And I miss him, man. I really look up to him.
Yeah, most definitely. It was awesome to see we could get together, and it was easy to contact you because it was somebody that I really didn't think of hitting up on social media. And then he said it. I was like, why didn't I think of that? Like, that's the perfect guest to bring on, right?